All right, welcome to No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker. I'm alone here at the Bourbon Bureau. So we're gonna be batching it this week, all week long. Lori's at a big old Republican convention of some sort. All right, so tonight we've got a good show for you. We are going to, via remoting in, have Rick Lowry, who is the chairman of Young Republicans, national chairman. We're going to have a great interview with Dr. Bob McClure, and we're going to have a Toman Homeschool Lesson. So a lot of good stuff throughout the show. First segment here, what I'd like to talk about, I've been getting some inquiries, people asking me, hey, Representative Becker, what's the scoop with House Bill 1465 with regard to vaccine passports? And so there's a lot of concern about it. We know that Sanford has a mandate in place as of November 1st, I believe it is. We hear of other places. We hear rumors about higher ed. And so we did pass a bill in the legislature. It was 1465. It is now law, has been signed by the governor. And the reason that there's some confusion is because we had many vaccine-related bills come through the House. We passed more than one in the House, and several died. 1465, I'm going to go through it with you. Now, this is the one that's law. I'm going to be talking about some of them that didn't pass, but 1465, pull up the first graphic if you would. Here's what 1465 currently says in law now. As far as vaccine and infection information, except as provided under these sections, and those sections refer to childhood immunizations and school immunizations. The first one there even includes homeschooling requirements. It says, neither a state government entity nor any of its subdivisions, agents, or assigns may require documentation, whether it's physical or electronic, for the purpose of certifying or otherwise communicating the following before providing access to state property, funds, or services. And that is a vaccination status, whether you've had a positive or negative antibody test, antigen test, or if you are going to make some sort of, I guess, promise or affidavit that you are in a post-transmission recovery status. So let's go on to the next one. It also prohibits the government from requiring a private business to obtain documentation, whether physical or electronic. So basically the same thing. The government can't do it, and the government can't require a private business to do it. Additionally, it says in here, and this is the part that where people are really interested, a private business located in the state may not require a patron or customer to provide any documentation certifying vaccination or post-transmission recovery to gain access to, entry upon, or services from the business. Okay, so this is saying private business cannot require a vaccine passport. This subsection does not apply to healthcare providers, including long-term care providers. So your hospitals, your nursing homes can still do this. Now, that answers the whole Sanford thing, right? It's not against the law. But right now, if a restaurant in town decided to do it, they would be outside of the law. There are a couple of things that are problematic with this bill. Let's pull up the next graphic. This bill is very weak. It says here in subsection 4, related to subsection 1 be not applicable to the State Board of Higher Education, university system, or institutions under its control. So this doesn't apply to colleges at all. Number 5, it doesn't apply if they declare an emergency again or a public health disaster. So what good is it? All they have to do is require or call another state of emergency, and now everyone can do it again. And number 6, this whole thing is only in place until the FDA approves the vaccine. Right now, the FDA has not approved it. They are able to use it under an EUA, Emergency Use Authorization. So, with regard to that, let's pull up the next graphic. It turns out that Dr. Fauci is hopeful that the vaccine will get full approval by the FDA within weeks. He goes on to say that he's hopeful that the Food and Drug Administration will give full approval to the coronavirus vaccine by month's end, and predicted the potential move will spur a wave of vaccine mandates in the private sector as well as schools and universities. In another article, he used the term a flood of vaccine mandates. So what we're looking at is a bill, 1465, that is law, that was problematic and weak and didn't really, in my opinion, do anything anyway. I voted no on it. It passed with a vote of 70 to 22. Here's the thing. The House had previously passed another vaccine passport prohibition bill. It was 2124. This is a Senate bill. It passed in the Senate. It didn't have anything to do really with vaccine passports. It came to the House. We added that on. This bill, after it went through the House, would have prevented illegal, undocumented minors from being located throughout the state. It would have prevented the vaccine passport, and it put on all sorts of constraints on the governor for calling and maintaining states of emergency. It was a very good bill. I voted yes on it. It passed the House, 68-24, went back to the Senate in conference committee and died. And therefore, we don't have that one. So then after that, they came back to us with the one that is law now. They put it on last minute because it's sort of like, holy crap, we voted all of these vaccine bills down, either in the House or in the Senate. We've got nothing left. The people are getting angry. They were in huge numbers at the Capitol when it came for the mask mandate prohibition to overrule the governor's veto. And so it was clear this is what the people wanted. And so they put on a vaccine passport prohibition, a very weak one, as I just showed you, and stuck it on to another bill, and then that's what became law. Unfortunately, some of the other bills also did not pass. There was a proven vaccine bill, 1377, which made it clear what the exemptions were, made it easy to have exemptions. That one failed in the House, 21 to 72. I voted yes on that one. There was another one, oh, this one was so close, 1468. Very clear, informed consent. I mean, and this is what you would want. This makes it abundantly clear and is best full transparency for everyone with regard to these and all vaccines. Failed in the House, 46 to 47. That was a close one. So to answer your question then, so many of you have contacted me. We do have a passport prohibition. It's only in place until they get full approval from the FDA, which according to Dr. Fauci will be in the next few weeks. It doesn't apply to the universities. It doesn't apply to hospitals. It doesn't apply to long-term care. And if we have another state of emergency, it's not going to apply anywhere. So there you have it, 1465. You're all up to date. Who knows what's going to happen with this? I believe that there may be an initiated measure. We'll see what happens, but there you go. All right. Next up, we are going to have Rick Lowry, National Chairman of Young Republicans. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
it's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero service team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero service team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Go for Launch 2018 series winner. Without further ado, it is my honors. Regina. The winning team is the Fleming River Excellence.
Oh my God!
They won!
Hey, we're back. It's No Apologies. And while we wait for Rick Lowry, National Chairman of the Young Republicans, we are going to proceed with Dr. Bob McClure, who's from the James Madison Institute. I met him down at Freedom Fest. Very intelligent guy, a lot of good things to say, so let's roll it. All right, we are at Freedom Fest in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I have our next guest, very interesting gentleman, Dr. Bob McClure with the James Madison Institute, based in Florida,
right,
but with the nationwide reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
So I was reading up on you just a bit, and it seems that you are a mover and shaker, an influencer. It even said so. It told me on the internet.
That must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. But, you know, I think that there has been a lot of positive attention on Florida.
Right.
And so it's particularly interesting for me to bring you on with regard to some of those. All right, we are at Freedom Fest in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I have our next guest, very interesting gentleman, Dr. Bob McClure with the James Madison Institute, based in Florida,
right,
but with the nationwide reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Bob. Thank you. Thank you for being a guest.
Thanks for having me.
So I was reading up on you just a bit, and it seems that you are a mover and shaker, an influencer. It even said so. It told me on the internet.
That must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. But, you know, I think that there has been a lot of positive attention on Florida.
Right.
And so it's particularly interesting for me to bring you on to be able to discuss some of what is positive about that, how that might differ from other states, and how maybe, so our audience is largely based in North Dakota.
Sure, yeah.
How might we better affect that type of change or approach in North Dakota?
Well, thanks again. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be at Freedom Fest. It's a great time. You know, Florida's a very interesting state. We have 22 million people in the entire state, so it continues to grow. It's the third largest state in the country. We passed the state of New York several years ago. So you have California, Texas, Florida, then New York are the four largest states. Obviously very different than your neck of the woods, but I will tell you this, you know, the smallest county in Florida is up in the Panhandle, and it has only about 10,000 people in it. So there are a number of counties that are very rural, very agriculture. Not everything is Miami, Palm Beach, or Tampa, and particularly up in the Panhandle and then down the spine, the center of the state, it's very rural, very agricultural. So there's a demographic there, maybe perhaps similar to what you all have in North Dakota, and you know, the policies, that we believe in freedom and whatnot, they work in those areas extremely well. So we're really proud of kind of where Florida is right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Do you have a working relationship with Governor DeSantis, or do you nudge him, or are you completely separate, independent, and have a different presence?
Yeah, we're based in the capital city, which is Tallahassee, and it's far away from all of the population centers. So if you look at the state of Florida, Tallahassee is it's only a few miles from the Georgia line. So it's very northern part of the state. And so we're in the capital city. We're a free market think tank. Mm-hmm. So we're in the ideas business. We're in the ideas business of advancing good public policy. We don't focus on endorsing candidates. We don't get involved in races, those kinds of things. Our focus is on good public policy. So taxes and regulations, keep them low and stable. School choice, education reform, election integrity was a huge issue for us in Florida. I'd love to talk with you more about that. Healthcare reform, all of the great issues that your viewers and listeners have to deal with on a daily basis from an economic standpoint. That's what the James Madison Institute does. Based in Tallahassee, you can throw a rock and hit the Capitol from our offices, and we work with the governor on advancing those ideas, because I think politicians need to understand, first and foremost, and we were talking about this off the air, politicians' number one job is to get reelected, right?
Yeah,
certainly present company accepted, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But in general, right, you can't do anything if you don't win an election.
Sure.
So we understand that. We're not naive.
Yeah.
And so good policy, though, is good politics. So as you deal with coronavirus, as you try to keep your economy open, Florida is living proof that good policy is good politics, and that libertarian / conservative / freedom-loving people can get elected to office and make a very, very big difference.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you fully. Good policy is good politics, and I don't know the details, but I think Governor Noem in South Dakota sort of realized that and leveraged it to her advantage, that not locking people down, not being so restrictive, made her so popular. So that's a very good point. Good policy is good politics.
The data in Florida shows, Governor DeSantis, after the initial 2 weeks to slow the spread, Governor DeSantis essentially formed what we called a Reopen Florida Task Force, which was a list of health care officials, of business leaders, JMI. We had an important role on the Reopen Task Force, and the governor decided ultimately that this was going to be a decision left to the individuals in their particular areas. He was going to do three things. COVID. One, he was going to protect the most vulnerable, which we know are those over the age of 70, and Florida has one of the largest populations of people over the age of 70. He was going to protect the immunocompromised, right? He was going to increase testing, and he was not going to put sick patients back into nursing homes.
Yes.
After that, he was going to allow businesses to decide what was best for them, because the largest county in Florida has 2.7 million people. That's Miami-Dade County. The smallest county in Florida is Liberty County, has 10,000.
Yeah.
You can't do a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
And so the governor decided to, once he got the most vulnerable protected, he told businesses, he told counties, you decide what is best for you. Mask mandates, half full, quarter full, closed down. It just depends on what is best for you. And he put the personal onus, the responsibility, on the local communities to make the decisions, and it's worked out for them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's the way it ought to be. Absolutely. Alrighty, that's part one of the interview with Dr. Bob McClure from James Madison Institute. Part two will be coming up next. I think it's particularly insightful. We know that there's a lot of attention on Governor DeSantis, and to know how a policy-type institute within that state is working, how they view things, hopefully is going to indicate to us what we might see in the future around the United States. So stick with us. We will be back for part two coming right up.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hey, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of sanity. And we are going to be proceeding with segment 2 of Dr. Bob McClure, James Madison Institute. Listen, folks, if these types of interviews, you find them interesting and worthwhile, let us know. I have opportunities maybe throughout the year I can do more. However, if they're not flipping your skirt, let us know that too, and I won't waste my time doing them. We want to make sure that we are addressing what it is that you want to see, what you want to know. So, that being said, let's move forward. Dr. Bob McClure, part 2, roll it. With regard to some of those types of restrictions, you know, Dr. Burks was out and about saying, hey, all bars have to close at 10 o'clock. Now, maybe I take umbrage at that because I'm a bar owner,
right.
But I also am a physician, and the science behind that was not only lacking, and everything pointed to that being just nothing but a silly recommendation. Our governor did that, much to my chagrin. Was that anything in Florida?
Yeah, Governor DeSantis, after the initial, it took us all about, I'm trying to remember, maybe from February till the summer till June, so 3 or 4 months, to figure out what we were dealing with. None of us knew.
True.
Dr. Burke certainly didn't know.
No.
And so once we got past that, Governor DeSantis allowed local communities to make the best decisions. Because you're right, closing a bar at 10 o'clock, wearing a mask, unless you are holding a drink, then you can take your mask down. I mean, it's all very arbitrary and kind of silly. But,
yes.
I think politicians are concerned about being seen as not caring and not doing anything.
You got to do something.
Right, you have to do something, exactly. And so I think that was part of the issue. We certainly saw that at the local level in Florida, but at the state level, Governor DeSantis said, we're going to keep our schools open. The science shows kids will be fine, and we're going to keep our economy open. And it worked. And we were very concerned that the economy was going to, nosedive because we're tourism driven. Initially, it was very challenging for about 3 months, but after that, it came back because Governor DeSantis kept the state open.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Does the James Madison Institute, as part of one of their policy arms, deal with corporate welfare? That's something in North Dakota. We are awash in money. It's a weird situation to be in for a supermajority Republican state. We have so much oil money coming in that you would never know that we're a red state, because we're spending it all, and we have so much that we are now relying on our own our ability to believe that we know best in all things, and say, hey, you know what would be great is if we took taxpayer money and used it for this, gave this subsidy, that tax break, that incentive, and we call it all investing, not spending.
That's right.
James Madison Institute, do you work in that realm?
We do. And your viewers and listeners can go to jamesmadison.org to learn about all what we do in the state of Florida. And we do it, given the fact that we run a think tank in Florida, we have a national perspective as well. Corporate welfare, regardless of the politician, regardless of the state, is always a challenge for a couple of different reasons. One, elected officials want to be seen as doing something, and so they always think, if I'm spending money, if I'm doing this, giving this tax credit or this, you're exactly right. The second thing is they're spending other people's money.
Yes.
They're not spending their own, they're spending the taxpayers' money. And so it's always easier to spend other people's money. And
Very
even in
much so.
Florida, even with the best, we have a challenge. We have a state-run organization called Enterprise Florida, which is focused on bringing tourism to Florida. And some people see that as corporate welfare, as a boondoggle. And there have been great debates, even with really, really good elected officials. So I think that is ongoing all the time, not just in North Dakota, unfortunately, but in Florida as well.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's so hard to break, I think, elected officials from that pattern of thought that the allowing, especially in the aggregate, not just allowing a citizen their share, their $10, but in the aggregate across an entire state, that much money being spent in the economy the way people would normally want to spend it is going to be far better, create more wealth for everyone in the state than a bureaucratic sort of aligned program, which no one is going to look at the metrics, at the outcomes, do an analysis. If it seems like it didn't work, well, then it needs more money. And if it did work, well, it needs more money. We need to expand it. And that's the problem. There's not with private business, there's not the risk benefit analysis ever.
There's so much of what you said there. I mean, if the solution to broken government is always more government from the left, right? And even from our friends. Still, if the government is broken, we need more government to fix what's broken. Obamacare is a perfect poster child for that. It's a disaster, so let's make it better. Well, you're not going to make it better, right? But to your point, you're absolutely right on spending money. If you give that money back to the individual, put that $100 bill in their pocket, they're going to save it. They're going to buy tires. They're going to send their kids to school, they're going to go to the grocery store, and that money grows. The pie of the free market economy continues to grow exponentially.
Yes.
Because it brings in jobs, and then they spend money, and businesses grow. They also watch their money, that $100 in your pocket. You'll watch it more closely than an elected official.
Absolutely.
Right. When an elected official has, as you say, if North Dakota is awash in money, they throw money at it. Nobody's going to measure whether it worked. There are no metrics as opposed to like an HVAC business is watching every penny. They're going to measure whether things are working. And so money in the hands of the individual is always better than the state government kind of throwing money at an issue, and it just disappears without any understanding of whether it worked or not.
Exactly right. Well, Bob, I know your time is valuable, and thank you so much. Why don't you, for our viewers, let us know the James Madison Institute. We can find it where?
Right, it's jamesmadison.org. We're the James Madison Institute. We're based in the capital city of Florida in Tallahassee. We work very closely with all of the elected officials there in Florida. We continue to obviously protect and promote Florida. We really believe it's, perhaps the most freedom-loving state in the country, but we also do a lot nationally. We have a lot of opportunities to work with folks in your state, in North Dakota, and other places, whether it's a form of school choice or healthcare initiative or election integrity, whatever the issues are that you're working on. I encourage your viewers and your listeners to go to jamesmadison.org and learn more, and we'll be happy to help.
jamesmadison.org, folks. All right. Thank you so much, Bob. Really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
You bet. All right. Well, I think that guy is pretty solid, and so is the James Madison Institute. Our discussion, I just don't think it can be said frequently enough. The discussion pertaining to where Dr. McClure said that money in the hands of the individual is better, more efficient, and better spent than it is by some government entity, by politicians, by elected officials deciding that they want to do it this way or that way. There is no way that a government agency knows better in the aggregate than the individual, multiple people, of how they want their money spent. It's impossible, not to mention that we have the administrative, bloated, bureaucratic losses that come with it. And this is something that I find extremely challenging in the Republican Party. There is such a willingness for Republicans to say, when we have money, we're going to do good things with it. We're going to do good conservative things with it. And I think that generally we lack the understanding of the actual definition of whatever it is that we think conservatism means. That whatever we think free market means, because we all claim that we're conservative. We all claim that we like the market. But to say that we're going to do this and we know best, because, for instance, we want more dentists or veterinarians in the state of North Dakota, or more plumbers in the state of Minnesota, whatever it might be. So you know what we're going to do is take taxpayer money and we're going to form this program. These inevitably do not work. There is no way, and it has been shown over and over and over. Economists know it, these policy wonks know it. But the lure to elected officials to do something that sounds good on the surface, something that they can point at and pat themselves on the back and say, look what I did for you. Because it is so easy to appear to be compassionate and appear to be benevolent when it's other people's money. That's the inherent problem with the system, and that's why we need to continue to struggle to find qualified people to run for elected office, and when we find them, to support them at all times. So with that, we will be back, and perhaps we're going to have a remote-in guest, or perhaps we're going to have an extended Toman homeschool. Who knows what's going to happen? Stick with us.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with the most important commercial that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 5 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, it's all come down to this. I'm having a cyber symposium on August 10th, 11th, and 12th. This historical event will be live streamed 72 hours straight on my new platform, frankspeech.com. You can help by getting everybody you know to go to frankspeech.com now. To help support this Cyber Symposium event, I am offering some of the best prices ever on my pillow products, but they're only offered at frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive My Pillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues. Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the most condescending, rude email you've ever received?
Well, welcome to
National
the
news.
third term of a certain president. I really believe that.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
Welcome back. It's No Apologies on Beck, and Mr. Lowry did not show. So, you know what? It doesn't matter because we have Andrea Toman. Andrea from Ladies of Another View.
Yes.
Yeah, who says it? Somebody says it wrong. I'm just thinking I was going to say it wrong. Ladies of Another View. Anyway, on this same channel. What time?
4:30.
4:30. Ladies of Another View, 4:30. You've seen Andrea many times. So she's in. She's got a Toman homeschool segment, which is going to be next. But what I've said is we can do an off-the-cuff in reverse. Now, keep in mind, she had no idea. But that's okay. We've got some time, thanks to Mr. Lowry. So I've got a question for you. I'm not setting it up like a whole groovy off-the-cuff, but tell me what you think about this infrastructure bill. Okay, both of our North Dakota senators voted for it. We'll say the conservatives are up in arms. They're saying not very nice things about our two senators. Where do you stand on it?
I stand on the, why do they pass an infrastructure bill? Well, they just went along with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if you're just going to roll over, why'd we send you?
So I know Senator Kramer said that, a lot of it was already in another bill, and so it's not all new spending, and it's covered, and it's important stuff, and we need to be able to get the grains to the grinders and packagers, and we need the infrastructure. What concerns me is that it is adding on to our debt, which is highly likely going to lead to even more inflation, which is then a burden on our future generations.
Absolutely.
So the no grace for either of our senators coming from Ms. Toman.
No, not this time, guys.
Okay, very good. Vaccine mandates, universities. I assume that you are not a fan of vaccine mandates.
No vaccine mandates.
So what are you going to say? Because
I'll talk to you about it.
The motivation, the momentum is what I want to say. The momentum seems to be that we're moving to more and more greater likelihood of a mandate, certainly when it comes to colleges, as well as healthcare places and God knows what. So what do you say? Your kids are not college age yet.
They're getting there.
They're getting there. What do you say to someone? I'm thinking almost like, take a year off.
Yeah, so taking a year off is a great strategy, I would say. My kids, well, I kind of have joked for the last 4 or 5 years that I'll homeschool my kids through college, which sounded ludicrous when I first suggested it, but now that there's so many online offerings for college, and there's other ways to get that education that you need to get started. You can get certifications online, you can do all kinds of things. So it isn't as necessary to go and sit in a classroom. It's certainly not necessary to go and sit in a public university classroom. There are plenty of private universities out there, some of which don't take federal dollars and can't be mandated by government to do this, that, or the other thing, at least not using those federal dollars as strings. So that's probably where we're going to be looking in the next couple years, probably. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but we very well could be, when my son graduates, my oldest son graduates in 2 years, we could still be looking at the same kind of scenario. So yes, we are thinking ahead. What is that going to look like?
It's crazy with all of the, I mean, you already have heavy indoctrination.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy indoctrination of a progressive far left agenda.
Yes, you do.
You've got all of this what is it, diversity, inclusion, and equity, which is just jammed down people's throats, and the belief that if you're white, you're racist and evil. Yeah. And on top of it, then all this vaccine stuff, I mean, it's nuts. I would think that people would be really looking for alternatives to public colleges anyway, even without the vaccine.
Even perhaps without COVID, weren't they? Harvard offers most of their lectures online. They have for 5 or 6 years, and there are opportunities out there, like I said, to learn what you need to learn. The biggest issue is whether or not you want to have an accredited university and whether you want to have a piece of paper that says you have a bachelor's degree in whatever. If that's not essential to what you want to do, don't go to college.
and definitely, this is a time, for decades now, people have been a freshman, many times a sophomore. If you ask them, what are you doing? No, I don't know yet.
That was most of my friends in college.
This is maybe again, without COVID, just the recognizing that you are going to be so severely in debt because of the cost of education that maybe it's not a good idea, but on top of it with all this other crap, maybe you want to hold off. I mean, take a year and go do some good things in Guatemala or something.
You know, and there's a study that I read a while back that talked about the impact of holding kids back a year, like in grade school. But when you look at their lifetime earning potential, they lose a year out of their career, a year out of their money-making years, so to speak. And when you think about it, it's not the first year. It's actually the last year at the end. So it has a pretty big financial impact when you make those decisions. So it is important when you're planning that out. What experience are you going to have in that year? If you're going to take a gap year, if you're going to do something like that, there's not any reason to discount that or discredit that. I also think that there's no reason for young moms to discount the fact that they stayed home with their young kids. You are learning management skills. You are learning time management. You're learning your own routine. You're building yourself up for success in the future. So count those years. You worked them. It's just a different kind of work.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, another topic. CDC is creating basically fiat law, for a prohibition on evictions. So there's so many things, right? Where does CDC get the wherewithal to be able to do this, or the president to have CDC do it? Secondly, even if we went through regular legislative process in Congress, where do they get the standing to do it? Thirdly, is it any different that Biden's doing it, considering that Trump did it in, I think it was September, with CDC? What are your thoughts?
They just make it up as they go. Laws that end up in regulations as opposed to an actual law, those are not laws.
Yeah. Well,
why are we following them?
It blows my mind. Think about this, people. An agency, the Center for Disease Control, can reach into every city, every town throughout the entire United States and tell people who have an apartment or a twin home where they're leasing out the other side, or an investment where they got a 4-unit apartment complex, whatever it might be, they are telling everyone in every town, you can't evict somebody even if they don't pay you for use of your property. Where does a federal agency get that power? This should blow everybody's minds. It's so egregious, but I think that it's just another straw on the camel's back. Yeah. There's so many.
And I think it's so incredibly frustrating because everyone, when they first hear about a law like that, if they don't own property themselves, or if they own their own home, they're not a renter, and they're not also a landlord, they think of landlords as like these big corporate entities. But they're also small just mom and pop, just like husband and wife, they bought a place out of town. They still have one in town. They rent that out. They're still falling under that. They're still having to deal with renters who are not paying their rent. And for some of those people, that means trying to figure out how to make that house payment when the rent was supposed to cover it. So it's not working, and it's hurting people.
Right. Well, I mean, I've got property, and if people didn't pay their rent, I would have to go bankrupt. I mean,
do what? Like, sell it to who?
Who's going to pay the mortgage and the property tax? I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, it's bad news.
All right. So those are some good topics. Thanks for carrying me through this segment, Andrea. I appreciate it. So, folks, we are going to be back with Toman Homeschooling Lesson for Me from Andrea coming up next. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. Yeah. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
We're back. It's No Apologies. Final segment tonight. Thanks for hanging with us, folks. And Andrea Toman, Ladies of Another View, airs at 4:30?
4:30.
4:30. Toman Homeschool Lesson. I really like them so far.
So far.
You possibly are going
to
to ruin it, but we'll see what happens. So
we'll
lay it
see.
on me, Andrea. Lay it on me.
So as I've said before, I homeschool my 4 children, and this is taken from a high school lesson that we did this past spring. Yes. So
I can do the 5th grade lessons pretty good, I think. High school, we'll see. We'll see.
You have to have a little bit more synthesis, a little bit more piecing together of what you already know, but most importantly, you need to be able to articulate an opinion at the high school level. And I think Rick's got this.
I should be able to, so now the pressure's on. Let's
So
go.
we're actually going to begin over in Europe in the late 1800s. So in what is the Habsburg Empire, which is Austria, largely at the time. And you'll have to imagine you've got Italy, north and east of Italy. There's that nice big chunk of land in the middle there. And that's the Habsburg Empire with Hungary, with Austria. And one of the first things that happened after a couple of wars in the 1800s, they lost chunks of landmass to Italy and Venice to Germany. And with those large swaths of land that they lost, they also lost a lot of German-speaking people, just a lot of Germans. And so what was left was a much more mixed country, just because the population of the largest ethnic group had been diminished. And what was left was Germans still, but also Hungarians and Slavics and Croatians and Czechoslovakians and Poles, and an entire mixed bag of a melting pot that wouldn't melt.
Okay.
And that's the problem. So
Was this like around the 1890s?
Yep, right around
Okay.
1890s.
Okay.
Yep. So with all of these different cultures speaking multiple different languages, and Hungary being the largest sub-ethnic group, so not the majority, which would have been the Germans, but now the Germans have lost a lot of Germans with Austria. So now the Hungarians want to have their own. They want some independence from Austria, but at the same time, they recognize there's a lot of big world powers around them. They've got Germany, they've got France, they've got Russia, and if they're stuck in the middle as just a tiny little country, they're really exposed.
Yes.
So they choose instead to stay aligned with Austria, but it becomes the Austrian-Hungarian Empire with one emperor and two parliaments. So with Austria having their own, primarily with the German-speaking population, and Hungary having their own with the Hungarian-speaking population. But there's still a lot of other ethnic groups in the region. And many of them want the same privileges, the same rights, the same freedom that the Hungarians had achieved. And they're trying to get it, either from the Austrians or trying to get it from the Hungarians. So there's a lot of nationalistic tendencies as each of these groups try to break off and become their own little thing. A lot of uprisings within Austria and within Hungary. So they dealt with it differently. Austria attempted to appease them and say, well, we'll give you the right to conduct business in your own language, and you can have public education in your own language, and you can have all of these little concessions, and that should be enough, right? But that didn't appease them at all.
Right.
And so there's still a struggle there as they're trying to break away. And the Hungarians tried an opposite approach. Instead of trying to conceal or trying to appease them, they tried to stamp out anything that looked like a revolt or an insurgency or like any level of we want our own, we want some level of independence. So they attempted to stamp it out. And the conflicts within those nations and with all those different groups left a lot of instability. It wasn't really able to stabilize, and it wasn't really able to come together as a unified country after they'd lost so many people, so many chunks of land. So one of my questions is, would it have been possible, would there have been a way, really, to resolve those nationalistic tendencies, those tensions?
That's a great question. Here's what I think. I've got it. The Hungarians had the right approach.
Yeah.
Not the Austrians.
Okay.
Because you cannot have groups of people that are disassimilated and having their own complete own cultures, right? Now, not to say that something should be illegal, but for the government to work, there should be one language, there should be a unified system, a unified group of values, and so to acquiesce and say, yeah, you do your own thing, that's never really going to come together. The Hungarians saying, nope, that's it, you have to be assimilated, is the way to go if you're going to try and enforce that. But then you have to use force. So I think Machiavelli has said kind of the same thing. You need to force assimilation, or the thing to do would have been allow them to break away. But I'm going to swing this over to the, go ahead.
It's interesting that you're going to allow them to break away. My family is German and Russian. We're from North Dakota, right? So Norwegian, Swedish, but my husband's family is Czech, Czechoslovakian. And the Czechs actually succeeded in breaking away following World War I, and then were completely crushed in World War II.
Yeah.
So they fell for the trap, really, to be their own independent nation. They were exactly in the wrong place.
Right. I think what has borne out over time is that you can create all of the man-made, manufactured geopolitical boundaries, and over time they'll break down according to cultural boundaries, no matter what you try and do. And so that's why you can either try and crush, like the Romans did, or you can allow them to break away. Disassimilation, different groups are going to eventually, you're basically just simply delaying the breakaway anyway. But I want to say this, I think America is different, because America is not a place which already had, and again, I know I'm not accounting for Native Americans, but when we are talking about the Latinos, and we're talking about all the various groups, the reason why the requirement for having a unified language and a unified system of values is important and doable is because we started from square one, and you're choosing to come in. Now, in the circumstance you gave me, they didn't choose, they were not immigrants. They didn't choose to move in. If you're going to move into a country, then that country must require you to accept those values, accept that language, accept all of those types of cultural norms that we have, not disallowing or making unlawful your own particular cultures, but as a nation we have to have one. So yeah, they were in a rough situation in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, no doubt.
Great synthesis.
I was trying to use that synthesis to the U.S. All right, that's enough, folks. I don't know what's coming up tomorrow night. Just watch.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.